Welcome to the Week 6 Crenbowl League Weekly Recap. My name is Big Papa Pope, and we're going to take you through the matches today. First off, in Division A, we have Thralljo's Vampires versus Bardic Heroes' Kislev Circus. Something I wanted to highlight before this game started is that Thralljo wasn't originally in the league, but was added in after a coach dropped out. Despite this, Thralljo is coming into this game on a 2-game win streak, making his record 2-0-3 after inheriting the 3 losses from the previous coach. While Bardic Hero comes into this game losing in the previous week to the Sage's Lizardmen, hoping to bounce back and improve his record of 1-2-2. Right in turn 1, the Kislev Circus makes a strong statement with an early injury on the Vampire's Thrall at the hands of the Blitzer. This gives the Kislevs an early advantage as it is weakening up the left side of the field that Bardic Hero is posturing to his team to advance on. After an unsuccessful Apothecary, the Thrall loses a point in agility, possibly sidelining the player for good, seeing how there is no SBP on the player. Moving on to turn 4, the Kislevs have not made too much progress up the field. This gives the Vampires ample time to collapse the cage setup and get a blitz on the ball carrier. Unfortunately for the Vampires, another one of the Kislevs manages to pick up the ball in the scatter, ensuring they maintain possession. Turn 5, the Kislev Blitzers feeling the pressure of being surrounded by the Thralls and tries to dodge out, but is unsuccessful in doing so. But once again, the Kislevs maintain possession after catching the ball on the scatter. So after all the luck involved with the catches on scatters, what finally puts the ball on the ground? A failed GFI, of course. With little support on the right side of the field, the Kislevs are in danger of losing the ball to the Vampires. Sure enough, on the next turn, after knocking a lineman to the ground, a Vampire finally has the ball in their hand, giving his team 2 more turns to score. In contrast to the Kislev, the Vampires make short work of getting the ball to the opponent's end zone. After going for a short pass, another Vampire catches the ball and breaks away from the pack, ensuring a touchdown for his team, despite a last-ditch effort by the Kislev to intercept the ball. In something that is objectively hilarious, the Vampire rolls Bloodlust before going into the end zone and has to drink blood from the Thrall before going in. After doing so, however, the Vampire slams the ball onto the body of the Thrall, making it a 1-0 game before going into halftime. Jumping into turn 12, after receiving the ball in the second half, the Vampires go deep into Kislev territory despite heroic defensive efforts by the Kislev side. On turn 13, the Vampires score once again, making it 2-0. But I wanted to highlight something here. If you look, Thralljo always places a Thrall in the end zone before bringing the Vampire in, just in case he rolls for Bloodlust. Very smart play by the Vampire coach. On turn 14, the Vampires waste no time getting the ball back after a very fortunate kickoff placement and put the ball at midfield. The Vampire, however, fails to pick up roll twice, but no worries, his trusty Thrall is there to pick it up on the scatter. Despite picking up the ball on the scatter, the Thrall hands the ball off to the Vampire. But personally, I think the Thrall deserved a touchdown after getting bitten in the neck so many times this game. In the end, however, the Vampire brings the ball in for another touchdown, making this game end at 3-0. This game proves that despite the 3-loss disadvantage that Thralljo was in, he is definitely in the running for a playoff bout. Next match in Division A is Derethor's Elven Union versus Elves Unworshipped. With Elves sustaining a loss at the hands of Von Koss Skinks, the Necromantic team is hoping to bounce back for Week 6. And as we saw last week, Derethor is looking to continue his good performance after beating Saito's Undead. Elves is currently on the outside looking in, sitting at number 5, while Derethor is trying to secure a spot in the playoffs, currently sitting at number 4. With the unlikely presence of a Blizzard on the pitch, making GFIs now require 3+, while long passes cannot be done at all, the offensive capabilities of the Union are definitely affected more than that of the Necromantic. Right off the bat, we have another turn 1 injury happening, with the Necromantics receiving one of the first box given causes an injury, taking a lineman out of the game for good, showcasing the true brute force that LA squad is bringing today. Turn 3, the Unworshipped begin their advancement onto Elven territory, putting even more pressure on an already thinned out defensive line. Turn 5, the Elven Union produce a response of their own, laying the ball carrier flat on their back as the ball scatters onto the ground. The Union has a great chance to turn this game into a massive advantage for themselves if they can pick up the ball and score. But remember, the Blizzard prevents any deep passes from happening. Nuffle, however, had different plans. As the ball is picked up and thrown short to another elf, the Werewolf rolls a 6 to intercept the ball, making sure no score is happening this play. There will be a score on this play, however, as the Werewolf blitzes, knocks the elf down, and takes the ball into the end zone, making the game 1-0 before halftime. The second half is not proving to be any more fortunate for the Elves because despite a weather change, by turn 10, the Elven ball carrier finds himself looking up at the sky as the ball falls to the ground. The recovery effort by the Elves finds success on turn 11 as they pick up the ball, run out of the tackle zone, throw the ball successfully, and break away from the pack, perhaps finding a way to tie this game up at 1-1 and put pressure on the Necromantic team to score again. As a last-ditch effort to stop the Elves from scoring, a werewolf blitzes from the other side of the field to attack the ball carrier. Unfortunately, the werewolf rolls a double one, not only failing to stop the Elves, but also using his last reroll of the game. After the turnover, Derethor wastes no time getting his elf into the end zone, guaranteeing the next few turns of this game are going to get real interesting. To add another element to the ending of this game, the blizzard comes back, engulfing the field in snow and blinding the players. Turn 15. No rerolls left on either side. Ball on the ground after the Necromantic tried to push forward. The Elves finally break the strong cage and get their hands on the ball, possibly setting up for a fast scoring opportunity at the end of this game. On Derethor's last turn of the game, he has one opportunity to score. He rolls right, sees the elf through the blinding snow, throws the ball, and the zombie rolls a 6, because of course he did. Now on Alay's last turn, things go a little bit better. The zombie hands the ball off, which gets thrown to the werewolf, who runs it in for the touchdown, ending this game 2-1 in favor of the Necromantic, not only winning this game, but also taking Derethor's spot at number 4 in the division. This game felt like both teams were equally matched, and it led to a lot of entertaining plays. Nuffle chose his side today, however. This game could have looked a lot different if either of those interceptions didn't happen. Moving on to Division B, our first match is Biopoxs Vampires versus Kirby's Skaven. Both of these teams were covered last week, and as we saw, both teams came out with a win, and are hoping to improve their chances of making the playoffs with a victory here. One of the main difficulties for the Vampires is the sheer agility of the Skaven runners. As we saw last week with the Skaven going against the Kislev, tackle zones are just a joke to them. The 4th strength and 4 agility of the Vampires need to be utilized in this match if Biopoxs wants to have a chance to bring home the win. The game starts off with the Skaven getting the jump on the ball with the blitz, putting the player underneath the ball and already applying pressure to the Vampires' line. Fortunately for the Vampires, the Skaven failed to catch the ball, preventing a total nightmare. With pressure already applied by the Skavens, their turn 1 consists of using their strip ball Skaven to take the ball off the Vampire's hands, grab the ball whilst it's on the ground, and run it for the touchdown. Technically, this makes this a 1-turn defensive touchdown. A strong statement made by the Skaven. They are here to fight. Having to respond to the early touchdown, with the Vampires receiving again, they begin their offensive possession on the right side of the field with the cage deep into Skaven territory. The final defensive attempt that the Skaven can muster comes at the hands of the strip ball Skaven once again, using a red dive block to push the Vampire and force the ball out of bounds, where it lands close to the midfield, making it an even greater challenge for Biopoxs to score this drive. Perhaps out of annoyance for the Skaven shenanigans, Biopoxs Thrall sees red and actually kills Dark Nebula. Luckily for the Skaven, however, the Apothecary is able to bring him back with no permanent injuries. Still a shot across the bow showing the Vampires are not going to roll over and give up. With the Thrall breaking away from the Skaven line, he hands the ball off to the Vampire, who in turn sucks the blood of a Thrall which is already there, causing another serious injury. Nevertheless, the Vampires have tied this game up at 1-1. Now let's see what they can do for the rest of the half. Unfortunately, the good times are short-lived for the Vampires as the Skaven began a quick assault down the left side of the field, already threatening to take the lead back before it's even halftime. That is in fact exactly what happens, as the path is cleared for the ball carrier to sprint to the end zone, making this game 2-1 before halftime is even here, putting massive amounts of pressure on Biopoxs to answer back, which will be difficult seeing as the Skaven receive the ball in the second half. So, the question of whether or not the Vampires can defend is answered before we can even really ask the question, because on turn 10, the Skaven score again, making the score 3-1. Biopoxs really has to dig deep if he wants to bring this game back. Trying to answer back, Biopoxs has a Vampire all by himself deep in Skaven's side of the field, but once again, that pesky strip ball Skaven is here to put a thorn in the side of the offense. Despite this Skaven diving in to destroy the hopes and dreams of the Vampires, Biopoxs is able to get one of the Vampires to pick up the ball and run into the end zone, making this game 3-2 in the favor of the Skaven. Within a few turns, however, the Skaven are already on the opponent's end zone and scoring despite a last-ditch effort blitz to stop them, making the game 4-2 and securing the win for the Skaven side. The agility of the Skaven really powered through today, but the most valuable player was definitely Dark Nebula and their utilization of the strip ball, The last match in Division B is Sasukes Wood Elves versus Silverstone's Norse. Both teams are coming into this game sitting in the middle of the leaderboard, but also with wins in the previous weeks. They are hoping to gain momentum going forward into these final weeks of the league to possibly sneak into a playoff berth. If the Norse can survive the initial offensive drives of the Wood Elves, the low armor value of the Elven team can prove to be their downfall, as the Norse are much sturdier than their opponent. Another turn 1, another series injury. The Norse put their foot on the ground to show off their massive strength advantage over their opponents. The Wood Elves need to be wary going forward if they want to have a team standing at the end of this match. Turn 2 starts off with a surprise, as Sasuke brings out their big inducement of the match, the Wizard. This knocks 2 of the players in the Norse cage to the ground and gives the Elves an opportunity to take the ball and run. Sure enough, that is what happens at the end of the turn, with an Elf grabbing the ball from off the ground and sprinting away from the remnants of the Norse cage that once stood. The Norse quickly respond with a blitz on the Elven ball carrier. That is successful. The ball, however, scatters to the one square that the Norse did not want, right into the hands of another Elf. To make matters worse, the blitzer rolls a 1 on the GFI and cannot re-roll it, guaranteeing the touchdown for the Elves. Sasuke decides to waste no time and goes into the end zone for the touchdown on turn 3. The use of the Wizard was a heads-up play by Sasuke and made this touchdown possible. To respond, the Norse drive down the left side of the field while the Wood Elves desperately try to get into position to stop them. This dodge doesn't work out and ends with a used apothecary and an Elf missing next game. On turn 8, the Norse find a lane and push through for a handoff to a freed up player. And after a little detour to punch an Elf in the face, which is always necessary, the Norse tie the game up before heading into the locker room. The numbers on the Elven side are slowly dwindling due to injuries, which should lead to even more competitive second half, and also putting both teams in a good position to take this game. Jumping to turn 12, the Norse are trying to pick up the ball and try to gain control of the drive. After failing to pick up the ball twice though, the ball decides to jump around for a while before, once again, landing in the hands of an Elf. Never to waste an opportunity, Sasuke rolls to the right to avoid any Norse defenders and throws to the end zone where an Elf catches the ball and celebrates by diving back into the pitch, perhaps as a taunt to the other team. Either way, the Wood Elves are up 2-1, but with few players healthy enough to actually play. On turn 13, there is finally an actual death that happens, as there is no apothecary to re-roll this unfortunate injury for the Elves. On turn 15, with the Wood Elves being the walking wounded, the Norse easily advance up the center of the pitch. Unfortunately though, they are out of re-rolls and fail the handoff, putting this once guaranteed touchdown into question. Turn 16, the last chance for the Norse to tie the game up. They pick up the ball, but fail the dodge, making this a 2-1 victory for the Wood Elves. Both teams played fantastic this game, and had a few rolls gone the other way, we could see a tied scoreline or even a victory for the Norse. Diving into Division C, we have Morrow's Chaos Dwarfs versus Nursilla Thrilla's Elven Union. As we saw last week, Nursilla tied his game with Robin's Halfling team, while Morrow is coming off of a win, beating Sparky's Britonian team. While the Elven Union have the obvious mobility advantage, the lack of strength on the Elven line will prove to make this difficult to stop the Chaos Dwarfs from advancing up the field. If the Chaos Dwarfs can keep their cages strong, there will be little that the Elves can do to stop them. Jumping all the way to turn 4, the Chaos Dwarfs start their advance onto the Elven side of the field. Something that I want to highlight here is that Morrow elected to have his 2 Agility Centaur pick up the ball as opposed to his 3 Agility Hobgoblins. This option makes mobility very difficult, but also makes the challenge of getting the ball even more of an obstacle for the Union side. Now to turn 7, where we see that the drive is stalled out where we left it, and the Chaos Dwarfs are feeling the cage they set up beginning to falter. To counter this, the Centaur blitzes to push away from an Elf's tackle zone and move to the center of the field, where he is in range of a sprint to the end zone. On to turn 8, where we find the Centaur, knowing that time is running out, dodging away from the Elves, and rolling 3 GFIs to get into the end zone for the touchdown, making this game 1-0 heading into the locker rooms. While dicey at the end of the drive, the plan to put the ball in the hands of the Centaur proved to be the correct choice by Morrow. Trying to quickly respond, the Union pass and hand off the ball to go a long stretch of the field to exploit a lack of defense on the Chaos Dwarfs' left flank, putting the Elves in position to have a fast 2-turn touchdown and putting pressure back on the Dwarfs to score again. Attempting to muster a defense off of the shocking speed of the Elves, a Hobgoblin tries to dodge away, failing once, and then again on the reroll, guaranteeing this score for the Elves. In fact, on the next turn, the Elves decide that it is time to bring the ball in for the touchdown, giving the Chaos Dwarfs time to muster an offensive drive of their own. But Morrow must not underestimate the Elves, as they can always find a way to get the ball into your own end zone. On turn 14, the Chaos Dwarves' drive begins to pick up steam as Morrow, opting for a Hobgoblin this time, rolls him to the left and hands the ball off to another Hobgoblin, giving his team an opportunity to score and make this game 2-1. On the penultimate turn, Morrow, with a hole created by his Dwarven blockers, brings the ball carrier in for the 2-1 victory. The sturdiness of the Chaos Dwarf team shone through today as the Elves had a very difficult time trying to grind through the walls put up by Morrow. This game showing that the Chaos Dwarves are a threat to the rest of the division. Going into the final game of Division C, we have Sparkly's Britonians versus Heckle's Chaos. As we mentioned previously, Sparkly is coming off a loss to Morrow's Chaos Dwarves. Despite that loss, Sparkly is still 3-1-1 coming into this game and is currently fighting for a top spot in the division. Meanwhile, Heckle is 2-1-2, coming off a loss to the hands of Bastoza, the current leader in Division C. Heckle's biggest obstacle coming into this game is the 4 Dauntless Blitzers on Sparkly's side, potentially negating the strength advantage given by his Chaos Warriors. Meanwhile, Sparkly needs to keep his other players healthy, as the Blitzers do the work needed to keep the strength game even. Staying true to the common theme this week, the Britonians start the game with a serious injury to a Beastman, immediately giving the Britonian side the number advantage as they try to move in on the Chaos' ball carrier. Trying to get an early score, Heckle rolls his Beastman ball carrier down the right side of the field to attempt a pass behind the defensive wall. Unfortunately, the catch fails and the ball scatters to the ground, immediately throwing Heckle's early game plans out the window. By turn 3, the Britonians have now surrounded the ball, making it safe for a Blitzer to come in and pick the ball up, immediately putting pressure onto the Chaos to get the ball back and save their offensive drive. Unfortunately for the Chaos side, while an opening in the Britonian cage showed itself, the Chaos Warrior rolled a both down, causing turnover and allowing the Britonian Blitzer to break away and throw in a 1-0 score for the Britonian. Turn 8, the Chaos couldn't manage to get to the Blitzer, so the Britonians were able to delay until the final turn, allowing them to go up 1-0 before halftime, while also receiving the ball in the second half, making this an even greater challenge for the Chaos team. Turn 9, in what is one of the steps in making a comeback, the Chaos get a permanent injury on the Britonian lineman, adding a +1 to any new injury rolls. In one of the few chances that the Chaos have had to get back into this game, a Beastman blitzes a Britonian ball carrier, causing him to get knocked over. As the ball falls to the ground, however, the Beastman tries to dodge away from another blitzer and fails, leading to a turnover and Britonia right next to the ball. Sure enough, on turn 13, the ball is picked up by the Britonian side after knocking out the only Chaos Warrior threatening the ball. The blitzer then breaks away and is once again threatening to advance further onto the Chaos side of the field. Finally, on turn 15, after delaying a turn, the blitzer runs in for the score, ending the game at 2-0. While Heckle put up a fight, the game solidified Sparkly's position at the top of Division C, and why he is such a threat to the rest of the division. Into the final division, the first match we are going to recap is Gray's Human Team versus Ormzaz's Undead. Gray is another returning coach this week, as we all witnessed. He tied in the wild game against Zooming's Ogres. Ormzaz himself is coming off of week 5 with a tie against Big Slipper's Kislev Circus. Going into this game, Gray is vying for a top spot in the division and is needing a win to keep his spot in the top 4. Meanwhile, Ormzaz is sitting at 1-2-2 and is hoping to gain momentum for a late season push for the playoff spot. I'm cheating a little bit using this one since it's turn 2 injury, but once again a team suffers an early game injury, making these starting drives more difficult just due to the lack of people on the pitch. A strong start for the Humans on offense, however. By turn 3, the Humans are crossing midfield and setting up a sideline cage, giving protection to the ball carrier and adding obstacles in the way of the Undead team. By turn 4, the Undead have put massive amounts of pressure onto the cage, forcing the Humans to look elsewhere. They begin to set up a cage towards the middle of the pitch to see if any openings happen there. Turn 5, the Humans are making progress, grinding away at the Undead's defense. With an opening spotted, the ball carrier runs forward and hands the ball off to another player. Unfortunately, the catch is dropped, but is then caught by a zombie defender, adding a potential disaster to the Humans' opening drive. Trying to save the drive, the Humans blitz the zombie ball carrier, who wasn't able to make it too far away, and knock him to the ground. The pickup fails, however, leading to another turnover and the Humans in another vulnerable position. Finally able to get the upper hand, the drive ends with a 1-0 score in favor of the Humans. Despite getting shaky at the end, Gray should be commended for the heads-up plays that led to this touchdown, even after his original plan failed. Before the end of the half, the Undead sent a message to show the Humans that this game wasn't over. The Undead's mummy injures the Ogre, leaving him with a fractured leg, and out for the rest of this game and the next one. Into the second half, with the Undead receiving the ball, the Ghoul ball carrier blitzes to get a Human defender off of him, and proceeds to sprint down the right side of the field with more Undead players there to protect him. With a thinned out defensive line due to injuries, the humans are struggling to come up with an answer. Not wasting any time, the Undead bring the ball in for the touchdown. A drive defined by the strength of the Undead team and the speed of the ghouls led to this quick response by Ormzaz. With only a few players on the field for the humans, pressure only gets added as a death is suffered at the hands of the White, making a touchdown seem even farther out of reach for Grey. Trying to make a play happen, a human picks up the ball and tries to throw it, only to fail the throw roll. To make matters even worse, the ball scatters out of bounds and gets launched into the Undead side of the field. With the ball picked up by the Undead, a ghoul runs and hands the ball off to another ghoul that brings it in for the touchdown, ending the game 2-1 in favor of the Undead. The game started off strong for the humans, but with a team as battered and bruised as the humans were at the end of this game, no one could have stopped that second touchdown. Either way, Grey is going to hope to bounce back in Week 7. For our final match, we have Big Slippers' Kislev Circus facing off against Deturth's Chaos. As stated before, Big Slippers is coming into this match after tying against Ormzaz in Week 5. Meanwhile, Deturth, as we saw last week, lost to Adok's Skaven team, who is currently leading in Division D. Hoping to bounce back, Deturth is wanting to use the strength of the Chaos against the weaker Kislev to bring his team to victory. Meanwhile, Big Slippers is hoping to use the unique abilities of the Kislev, like Leap, to throw off Deturth's plans. Starting off on turn 3, with the Chaos setting up a wall to protect the Beastman ball carrier. This wall, however, gets leaped over by blitzing Kislev and leads to the Beastman on the ground, but the ball in another Beastman's hands after a little bit of hot potato on the scatter. Turn 5 starts with the ball carrier that was pushed to the sideline, being surfed and the ball launching towards the Kislev side of the field, where a player picks it up and runs closer to midfield, giving the Kislevs a massive chance to capitalize on this drive. After a bit of a scramble for the ball, on turn 6, the Kislev find an opening. The Kislev player leaps, picks the ball up, dodges out, and hands the ball off to another player, who then runs up the left side of the field to break away from the pack. Such high agility on display by the Kislev this game. In one of the final chances for the Chaos to stop the score, a Chaos Warrior blitzes over and tries to defend. Unfortunately, he fails the GFI before he even gets a chance to do the block. This leads to a turn 8 touchdown by the Kislev, giving them the 1-0 advantage heading into the second half. Agility was the winner of this drive, as the leaps made by the Kislev side gave them opportunities that they otherwise wouldn't have had. On turn 10, with the Kislev receiving in the second half, the Kislev make a quick dash on the left sideline, already finding holes in the Chaos defense. On Deturth's turn 10, revenge for the first half failed GFI, as a Chaos Warrior successfully blitzes the ball carrier. However, the ball goes out of bounds and into Chaos territory, where it might actually be an advantage for the Kislev. Turn 12, the Kislev outnumber the Chaos around the ball and decide to pick it up, leap away, and run in for the score. While the score was quick, if the ball had bounced closer to some Chaos players during the surf, this could have been a very different outcome. On turn 14, despite receiving the ball a turn ago, the Chaos find themselves surrounded by Kislev as a player comes in for the blitz and knocks the ball carrier down. And another Kislev comes in, picks the ball up, and already starts running towards the end zone once again. Finally, on turn 15, the Kislev take down the last line defense, pick the ball up, and score, finishing the game 3-0 in favor of Big Slippers' Kislev. Deturth should be commended for putting up as much of a fight as that he did. Unfortunately, Big Slippers' use of Leap is what gave him the upper hand in this match. And that's your recap for the week. Normally I'd have division rankings here, but I forgot to record them before people started doing Week 7. But either way, that was your Week 6 recap, and I hope everyone has a great day, and take care of yourselves.